ADHD. Now, basically, what I'm speaking to you about is everything that I've gone through since learning I had it, everything that I've battled to try to get myself organized, knowing I've had it. These are kind of all the negative things this time. I've got one of the bad things is, it's a bad thing. You really think before you speak. You tend to jump into things. You don't take time and think about it. Sometimes you tend to blurt it out. Teacher will ask you a question, you raise your hand before you think about it to say something, just because you think you're going to have the right answer, and you want to get credit for it. You want people to know or think you have the right answer. Raise your hand, blurt something out, and it's not right. So then you kind of look bad on top of it. Or if your boss talking about something, you may blurt something out, and it may not even have to do with what you're talking about. So he's got to correct you on that. And it makes you look bad too. You start a lot of projects and you don't follow through on, and you don't finish them. That's bad too. I don't know what that is with ADHD, but it just is. You have a hard time following through. So basically, you get bored with the project, so you gotta jump on to the next thing. That's happened too many times in my relationship, in my marriage. I start something, it never gets finished. My master bathroom, painting. My daughter's bedroom, painting. You know. That's why it's one of the things that I know I could never, I'd struggle being a painter, because I don't, I don't follow through. I just know it. So, I've talked to you about this before, but forgetfulness. I'm on the medication, but you still struggle with it. Forgetfulness is bad, but everybody does it. You just tend to do a little too much, and you tend to notice that you do too much too. It's just hard to control it. Your lack of patience. You really struggle with patience. For everything, I mean, it just goes almost back to the same old thing of thinking before you speak. You're impatient. Patience has to do with a lot of things. You need patience from listening to your family members and getting mad too quickly instead of thinking about it and calmly talking about things. Patience, not being able to wait for something, not being able to think something clearly through. It's almost like impulse. You go on impulse. When you buy something, you go on impulse, and it doesn't take long enough for you to buy something, and you don't clearly think every step through as to what might happen after you buy it. You try to everything in life you try to do, you try to figure out a way how to make it more convenient, more quicker, instead of taking the proper steps. And it's bad too. You try to stay organized. You get organized, you get onto a pattern, and about 2 weeks after that, the same thing. You may think of something different altogether, have to totally change what you just did, started. And it wastes a lot of money too, because you tend to go out and buy things to get organized. It's hard to say, but you generally live in clutter because you don't follow through. Your mind just kind of takes you from one thing to the next. So you may have like a certain ritual that you get into, and sometimes your mind will have you thinking about something else, so immediately goes to the next thing. It's a strange dilemma, but it's just to live in clutter, can't follow through. You go from one thing to the next, man, that's it, alright, that's the definition. You tend to waste more money than you spend. You know, you misplace things because you live in clutter, therefore you have to go buy more, therefore it costs you. It tends to cost you more money. You definitely have a hard time keeping jobs, because if you haven't figured out that you have ADHD, and you haven't figured out what your specialty is, then you keep doing certain jobs that you think you want to do, and you think you're good at, but it may not be it. In the end, you tend to maybe take a job that fits your skills, fits what you can do properly, and it may not even be what you ever thought about doing in the first place. That's what happened with me. You gotta try to figure out what your capabilities are, what you do the best. You can tend to notice that by whichever jobs you've had for the longest amount of time. You tend to worry a lot. I mean, if you get on medication, it's supposed to tend to, it calms you down, like anxieties to an extent, but there's always certain times where these things kind of creep up, and that's another thing you have to try to control, do a little better at. And, you know, I hate to say it, I just thought of this, you tend to think down about yourself, negative about yourself. I mean, there's a lot of good points, but you can always think of the bad points. You just try to stay positive. And that's what you put God in your life for. Put God in your life so that you can think clearly and think good about yourself. Positive mental attitude. You got God in your life, things are usually pretty good. I mean, you tend to make things a lot harder than they are. And that's another thing. You tend to overthink things. You're indecisive. I know I talked about that before, but indecisive is one of the worst problems you have. You generally can't tend to make up your mind. Slides things about dinner, where to go to dinner. Indecisive. Like I said before, you may be able to get yourself on medication, but that only it's a crutch, and it helps out, and it takes your mind out of the fog, makes you think clearer, but still got to work on things. It's a full-time job to try to control ADHD, so you're always thinking of different ways to control it. Now, since I'm a pretty bad reader, you know, you always think of getting books to try to help to read. You get too many books, and you're not even a good reader in the first place. You don't read very often.